All right. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are. My name is Ronnie Mack. I'm the host of the Riddle Report, and we are here with one of my great faculty friends, Dr. Amber Paul. So I'm going to read a quick intro and we'll jump into your questions,
That's
okay?
good, Ronnie.
Well, I'll be asking the questions. You'll be answering them.
Perfect.
All right. So welcome to the Riddle Report podcast, where we explore the dynamic journeys of exceptional individuals in aviation, space, and engineering. Dr. Amber Paul serves as an assistant professor in the Department of Human Factors and Behavioral Neurobiology. I don't know how you get all that on a name tag, but has great research in the areas of environmental conditions and immunity. Dr. Paul is an accomplished researcher, a great faculty member, and a generous mentor to her students. I'm your host, Ronnie Mack. Today, I'm honored to welcome Dr. Amber Paul, and we'll dive into her story.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Well,
Nice to be here.
No, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. So we'll start with just your background. Tell us, how did you become Dr. Paul? Tell us a little about your background.
So I think I would say when I was young, so I really enjoyed teaching when I was young. So my grandpa, he was my student. And I was probably about 5 or 6.
Okay.
He was a very
Was he a good student?
he was a good student. Yeah, he was very patient with me. But I think that's what I played when I grew up. I liked to teach. So there's that. And then when I watched Jurassic Park,
Wow. Okay.
that was sort of the movie that made me realize what science is, what scientists could do. And I don't know if you remember from Jurassic Park, the little DNA
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
So that really got me interested in how you could engineer a dinosaur.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. It also had a really prominent female scientist in that movie too, that looked at botany, which is also another cool subject area that has to deal with life sciences.
Yeah.
And really, life sciences is what started to drive my passion to want to continue on this process of being a scientist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's early life, and then I got my degree from the University of Alberta. I got my degree in immunology as a Bachelor of Science in Immunology, and infection was actually the full name of the degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I really got interested in immunology really personally. My mom had a stroke, and my grandma had cancer, and I didn't know why this was happening. I wanted to know why this was happening, what was going wrong biologically. So that's sort of what spurred my interest in getting into immunology a lot more was the personal connection to it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's really how it all kind of started that way.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Tell me more about your college experience. What was it like? Were you involved on campus? What was it like being a young pre-Dr. Amber Paul back then?
Yeah, I did an honors project as an undergraduate, and that's really where I really started getting into the wet lab sciences, and realizing that bench work science and how much I actually enjoyed that kind of way to answer questions. And that was an honors project that was with a research group called the Power Lab.
Okay.
The mentor of that, or the PI of the Power Lab group, was Dr. Christopher Power. He's at the University of Alberta, and he's still currently at the University of Alberta. He is a clinician that works with related nervous system disorders, primarily multiple sclerosis and neuroviral-like disorders. So my undergraduate experience working in his lab was really what made me get a lot more interested in understanding these processes. And I do credit him for a lot of what I do now, because without his mentorship and his guidance, I don't think I would be in the position I am today. He believed in me, and so he gave me that opportunity to do that. So that early life mentorship is very crucial, and I can see the value of that early life mentorship being crucial to help spur career development, for sure.
Which is so amazing because now you're doing that for students.
And that's really what is of my goal here in terms of what I do. I enjoy teaching, but the mentorship element of it is really key to helping push students to get to that next level, to that career stage. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, what was some of your experiences after University of Alberta? I know there was some
Yeah.
opportunities for research and development.
So after I got my so that was my bachelor's, I got University of Alberta. I went to University of Southern Mississippi, and that's where I got my doctorate. big difference.
Big difference.
From the north to all the south.
Yeah.
Big difference. So when I was in the Power Lab, a lot of my research was on neuroviral infections, so how viruses can affect how the nervous system works. Primarily HIV was the virus that we worked with there.
Gotcha.
And multiple sclerosis, like I mentioned, even though it's not a viral infection, it's just understanding pathologies of how those issues happen. But I was looking for programs that were dealing with neuroviral related models. And while the viruses are of interest to me, they are ways to spur what happens to your immune system. Really, my interest comes from how the immune system defends against those viruses.
Gotcha.
And what's the pathologies that our immune system takes to defend against those viruses. And so I was looking for schools all in the South, really. I was in Canada my whole life, basically. So I wanted to get out of the snow.
I can imagine.
And so I moved to the South, and University of Southern Mississippi, they immediately called me. They were interested. They saw my background, and it was a no-brainer for me with the research that was there and the faculty mentor that was there too.
Okay. All right. And if I recall, you spent some time at NASA after that, right?
I did. So I got my PhD at USM, and one of my graduate mentors, he was a NASA-funded researcher. And a lot of the stuff that he was researching was sort of early life molecular structures. So viruses have a molecular structure. In particular, the ones I was studying was West Nile virus. They have a structure that's just RNA. And that RNA molecule is really an early life molecule in the evolution of life. And that's, NASA's interest in understanding how all life began, in a sense, right? Their exobiology is a whole field in that area. So he kind of got me interested in that question a little bit more. And so I looked for programs that were as part of NASA, and one was the NASA postdoctoral program. It was a fellowship program through NASA, like pathways that way. And I reached out to the mentor, Dr. Shamila Bhattacharya, who is currently at Ames Research Center. I told her my interest. She welcomed me with open arms, and that's how I ended up doing my postdoctoral fellowship at NASA Ames Research Center. So questions about how the RNA molecule and basic biology, and ultimately how then your immune system integrates these kinds of questions. So molecular-based research is really where a lot of my foundation is. So yeah.
So looking at that research for the everyday person, what are some of the hopes coming out of that research? Is that to cancel out some of these diseases or strengthen the immune system against some of these?
Yeah. So that's the hope, right?
Gotcha.
All of the above, really, is not only just finding ways to finding the pathways and what leads to these issues, but also being able to target those pathways in a meaningful way to prevent them from going off course, right?
Gotcha.
So really, a lot of the function of the immune system is changed in the spaceflight environment. It's not the same as it is on Earth. So the spaceflight environment is actually a really good model to study how when the immune system changes, how you can use that model of high stress, high physiological stress, contributing to immune dysfunction, how you can look at that model and apply that to terrestrial issues. So we know a lot. Recently have identified that there is this issue with accelerated aging in space. So the DNA, the structure of the DNA, it shortens with every round of replication, and that shortening process is what they're attributing to this accelerated aging that's observed in the spaceflight environment. So we can use this environment as a model to understand terrestrial aging.
Okay.
And so those kinds of questions are of interest to me too. Yeah.
So how does this show up in your classes? Like, what classes are you teaching? Tell us more about that classroom, the professor experience.
Yeah, so I teach immunology. That's one of the classes that I teach. We focus on the basic foundations of immunology, but we also integrate aerospace-related stressors and how that then can change the foundations of immunology also. So very much combining that aerospace with life science question. And I also teach cell signaling and disease. So that's also not just focusing necessarily on what the immune response is doing, but how other systems like cardiovascular systems, nervous systems, how those can all be influenced in their pathways, and ultimately integrating how aerospace can change these types of pathways in the spaceflight environment too. And I also teach a bio 100 level course, and I also teach genetics, a 200 level course, to which I really enjoy teaching. Genetics in particular, because that's really the foundation for what we define as the life molecule, the DNA molecule. So just having that education for students to understand these molecular signatures and how they contribute to who we are and what's around us, essentially.
And this is all under the aerospace physiology or major?
Yes, this is under the Aerospace Physiology program, which is the 4-year undergraduate degree program here at Embry-Riddle. It is a very unique program. It's the only program in the country that's a 4-year undergraduate degree in aerospace physiology. So it's an exceptional program where students are very much interested in this question and developing their careers from this question. So we get a fantastic group of students come through, and it makes my job a lot easier when we have those students come through and want to learn these really, really interesting and unique questions.
Yeah.
hmm
What careers, let's say if I go back to school as an aerospace physiologist, what career should I be looking at once I'm done with school?
Yeah, so this is an expanding field for sure. We have the need for human exploration on our minds. But this is also something that is really important for aeronautical medicine, aerospace medicine careers. So militaries, there's careers out of military for this too. NASA is the gold standard, so pathways to research for NASA's goal for life sciences, which are primarily in certain NASA centers. So Ames does a lot of basic biology questions in space. Johnson Space Center does a lot of human research in space. A lot of astronauts and how they function and behave in the spaceflight environment. And Kennedy does a lot of plant biology in space, which is ultimately just as important as human research. We rely on plants to survive. We need oxygen to survive, and plants provide that for us. So that kind of research is really where students can ultimately start to delve into.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So if I go back to school, I can be a space doctor if I go.
Yes.
See, Mom, I still got a chance. So, and then also tell me a little bit about the Omex lab too, because like you got a lot from the classroom to the research. Yeah.
Yeah. So I direct the Omics Lab for Health and Human Performance. So what omics is the study of genomics, transcriptomics, proteomics, and this is just ways that we can understand genomics or the genes of DNA.
Gotcha.
Transcripts are how those genes are expressed, which are called transcriptomics. Those expression of those genes make proteins, and proteins are what our cells rely on to survive. Our cells are made up of more than 50% of proteins. They build structure, they make functions happen, they make our cells communicate. So that's really what we study, is the foundation of all those different types of omics-based molecular biology changes that happen in the spaceflight environment. And it's a really, really strong tool, in particular, when you have limitations currently for collecting samples in space, for example. We can perform a lot of omics-based analysis on frozen samples, okay? So if, there's a collection happening on the ISS, those cells can be frozen on the ISS, brought back, and then analyzed.
Oh, wow.
And so we can really see what's happening in that austere environment right away, instead of waiting for those samples to come back and analyzing, which is a whole different response altogether. So it does give us a really unique perspective on what's actually happening in space.
Okay. Now I want to ask you this question. You've talked a little bit about your teaching, a little about your research. Do you have like a research philosophy or a teaching philosophy that students, as they engage with you, will understand?
Yeah, so I would say one of the biggest things about doing this wet lab research is you have to have patience. You have to have resilience, and you kind of have to have a perseverance attitude.
Gotcha.
And you have to be able to pivot quite quickly, especially when we're talking about space sciences. This field just evolves very quickly. So enabling yourself to be able to address questions quickly, correctly, and being able to think outside the box a little bit is really an important element. And I don't think it's necessarily just for this type of research. These are everyday things, being able to pivot and persevere in scenarios. This science, it's tricky. There's a lot of negative data that comes out, and so you have to figure out how you can make positive data too, right? So that ability to think outside the box a bit really becomes critical in science and in life, really. Yeah.
As a scientist, you have like a favorite accolade, or was there a grant that you got that just really was a stamp of success for you?
So different career stages have been fruitful for me. I was quite proud of myself for receiving a doctoral award at my PhD level. So that was, something I was proud of myself for. It was hard work, perseverance and learning that element of perseverance through graduate programs. Definitely, that payoff is nice. And I was recently actually awarded a NASA award for publishing as part of a team within the Space Omics Medical Atlas, and that was pretty nice to be part of a team and win an award, which is such a huge element too when we're talking about career development as well. So being able to work on a team, with a team, and producing things together as a team is important.
Yeah. How is it building those relationships across that team? Because I'm pretty sure some are on our campus, some are at other universities.
Yeah.
Like, how did you first kind of meet some of these co-collaborators?
Yeah, so actually, one of the biggest community that I work under, or I shouldn't say work under, but I volunteer and dedicate my time under, is called NASA's Gene Lab Open Science for Life in Space. So I co-chair the Animal Analysis Working Group. This is a multi-institutional, multi-international collaboration. So we meet scientists that are experts in the field of bioinformatics. So that's taking those big data molecular sets, putting it into computational pipelines to make meaningful results. So that's what bioinformatics does, is taking that information and making sense of it. So there's folks that are part of that group, and then some really fantastic biologists that are part of that group too, which really we have this collaborative nature to want to build the questions of space life sciences. We understand that this field is so unique and so niche that when we come together as a group, that really does produce great things, and that SOMA package is a great example of what that can do.
Oh, wow. What brings you joy as a professor?
I always enjoy when I see the aha look on a student's face. A pathway that was so unclear being clear all of a sudden.
Gotcha.
That makes me quite happy, because just I know how hard some of these pathways are to understand, especially when you're just learning them. But when that moment comes, that makes me quite happy that I was able to relay that message to them and make them enjoy it in a way now that they understand what those pathways look like, right? So that's a great experience, yeah.
And we talked a lot about research. I know we interacted before, and I was with undergrad research. How would you tell a student the best way to find that research niche or that research interest? Like, yours was personal, but like, how would they kind of find that research journey for themselves?
Yeah, so I think continuing in different programs that the university has, there's opportunities for undergraduate research support. The Office of Undergraduate Research helps with those questions, the Spark grant, the SURF grants, the Ignite grants. Those are good ways to get that foundation to help do the research, right? But organizations that have different projects going and surveying what those organizations is really important. I didn't mention, when I was an undergraduate, I was part of of a research group as an undergraduate research group. Also, is called the Internationally Genetically Engineered Machines. We were Team Alberta at the University of Alberta, and we went to an annual conference in Boston at MIT, and we presented our project as a group, and we won an award for that. So those groups, those undergraduate organization groups, whatever that interest is really key to help not only make friends, because you make great friends and people that I still talk to this day, but you also you can experience how science is done too, right? And knowing not just applying what you can see on paper, but now applying it in the wet lab. You see that hands-on experience. You do start to appreciate how you can make what you're learning become a reality, right? And that's really a great experience.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Just a shout out to our students. Some of our research labs are some of the tightest communities I've seen on our campus. And a lot of those relationships come as they experiment and as they do work in science. And as a mentor, you shepherd a lot of that work for them.
It's important. You have to get that hands-on experience to understand that experience. So by any means, if you can at least get in contact with a mentor, talk to them. And if it's not something that maybe you're interested in asking, talk to another mentor and see if you know where that niche is for you in terms of understanding what interests you is very important.
If you could give them a couple steps, like how do I, if I'm a fresh student on campus, how do I get that mentorship? What does that look like? How do I negotiate that relationship?
So I think I can address for aerospace physiology program. I don't know how other programs function, but in our program, our first year students, they are part of a research methods course. So every student that comes through the program takes this course. And in this course, we introduce every single aerospace physiology faculty's research to the students throughout that semester. So it gets the students aware of the types of research that we're doing in their first year. And then usually by their second, third, and definitely fourth year, they've definitely started participating in some form of research with one of our faculty members. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you tell me a lesson that you've learned from either A, a fellow faculty member, or B, a student?
I would say I think this in general that teamwork mentality is very important. We don't go through life alone. We need to be able to work as a team in order to produce great things. So the I'm very grateful for the faculty and the students in the aerospace physiology program because I think we harness that type of mentality very well. And it makes work and life easier when you have that teamwork mentality. So I've learned that, I would say, from both faculty and students.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got any stories about any kind of star students that you've worked with, especially in aerospace physiology? You can keep the names anonymous if you need to,
Oh,
but like to protect the innocent.
I sure. Yeah. I mean, I've had some great students come through. I mean, they're at graduate programs, great graduate programs that I'm actually, as an external committee member for. Like at Cornell Medicine, for example, Johns Hopkins, taking some courses at Johns Hopkins. Like these are fantastic institutions for life sciences. So, having them being able to build those students up with the education, with the experience in the lab, and getting them to those institutions to continue on with their career development really is quite it makes me quite happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna ask you a couple of futures questions. If that's fine. What do you feel like the future of life sciences is, and what's the future for Dr. Paul? Like, do you want your own research lab? Like, what is the ultimate goal for you? So, like industry, then you personally, what do you feel like the future is?
So I have a research lab. The Omics lab is the research lab. So I'm very grateful for being able to have that. It definitely is my bread and butter. I'm used to doing wet lab research. So being able to have a question in my mind and then having a lab to answer that question, that hands-on element is so critical to push science. Really, and to continue to grow the team that to do this research and to grow this question is of interest to keep this momentum going with the importance of life sciences and understanding it in space, and ultimately not just in space but in extreme environments that replicate the space environment. So differences like in radiation levels, differences in altered gravity levels, those types of changes, these extreme environments, differences in oxygen levels, how that then influences our molecular structure. You can see how these can have applicable interests to folks just outside of space too, commercial airline pilots that are going on long duration flights. They are exposed to radiation levels that are different than on pilots that are just going for plane hopping flights, So what that does to their biology is of interest to me in understanding that.
Okay. Let's say I am a high schooler watching this, or I'm a parent of a high schooler. What should I be preparing myself for, whether that's STEM in general or getting into the fields that you're studying?
Yeah, so I have a son. And so I think of this on the regular. He's not in high school yet, but ultimately what I am trying to do is get him in STEM programs or STEAM programs now. And that is important to, you have to love to learn.
Yeah.
And it is important to keep that element of learning alive for students, whatever that is. As long as you can learn to love, you can learn to continue in these kinds of questions, right?
I like that. I'm writing that down. Learn to love.
Yeah, and love to learn. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I'm going to ask you a couple of final, just some fun questions, if that's okay. What has been your favorite Riddle moment since you've been here?
I pulled a plane when I was here.
There you go.
That was fun. I told you I have a son. He saw me do that. So that was kind of like a strong mom moment.
There we go. I think I just cooked breakfast. Now I pulled planes too.
Yeah. So that was a good moment. But I've enjoyed, I've enjoyed my time here. I can't really think of, a real strong moment, but it's been all pretty enjoyable. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Any challenges to our audience or any words of advice for our audience who might be watching?
I think it just, I would say, don't measure your value to someone else's value. You have your own path. Your path is going to change throughout your career. Learn to adapt to those changes. That's really important, because it's hard and there's going to be times where it's very difficult, but learn to pivot and learn to adjust, and really don't really measure yourself off of someone else. I think that's really important. Take advice, but don't focus on the unnecessary things that aren't going to define who you are also. So that's important. Yeah.
That's interesting. I want to shout out, we did an episode with Faith Lee, a student leader, and she talked about that comparison piece too, of like you have your individual path that you have to follow. And it's interesting hearing a faculty member echo those same words.
Yeah, I understand that, right? So I mean, I interact with students on the daily, and it's important that that message is relayed, right? So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to ask one of our common questions a little bit differently. What is your favorite Chick-fil-A order? But I'm also asked, growing up in Canada, was there like a go-to restaurant for you growing up?
Okay, so Chick-fil-A order, I would say, I mean, the chicken's great. So I would say 30 nuggets and Polynesian sauce.
There you go.
And a soda water. That's what I would say for that. Yeah.
All right.
And a restaurant growing up in Canada. So we had a restaurant called Boston Pizza, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was really good pizza.
That's interesting.
And it's not anywhere here. So yeah,
Okay.
that restaurant. Yeah.
You always open a franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, that can be a side business.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I really appreciate this time. I really appreciate your dedication to our students and our dedication to research. And I really appreciate you taking a passion that was personal, a situation that was personal, and you turned it into discovery for other people. Other people might have looked at that situation in different ways, but you went to learn.
Yes.
And now you're helping other people learn. You turn that kind of into a triumph, and I really appreciate that.
You have to love to learn,
Yeah.
right? And it made sense to me. That's what I had to do. So yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah.
No problem. And it's beautiful to see that you went from teaching your grandpa, now you're teaching hundreds of students.
Yeah, I think he would be quite proud of me that way.
I agree. I agree. All right. So with our closing statement, Dr. Paul, it's been a pleasure hearing your insights, hearing your story. We know you are a continued impact on our students, your fellow faculty members, and also alums. And we thank you for sharing your story here on the Riddle Report podcast. You can check out this podcast wherever you get those podcasts or on our website as well for more interviews and connection with fellow students. And I want to leave you with this phrase: one story, one community, one EREU. Have a great day.
Thanks, Ronnie.